Hey class, welcome to week 2 of COMM 363 for the spring 2020 term. Hopefully you have all gotten acclimated to the course content and the functionality of how things are going to be laid out for this course during week 1. I will review them a little bit right now just to kind of go over everything so that way you have a quick refresher of where things are. So here is where our syllabus is located. Here is where our lessons are going to be located for each week, such as week 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Again, any announcements I post will be here, and they will also be emailed to you as well. Our discussion forums will be here, along with our assignments, and finally our tests and quizzes will be here as well. But please keep in mind that I will link any of your tests, quizzes, assignments, discussion forums in the actual lessons here themselves. So hopefully you have all received your textbook. If not, don't stress too much because you really don't need your textbook officially until you take the quiz. This way you have your textbook to help you with your actual quiz. But the only downside of that is you're going to be cramming quite a bit of chapters before your actual first quiz. So here you can see during week 4 we will have quiz 1, which is going to go over parts 1 and 2, which will be chapters 1 through 8. All the questions will be taken from content of the textbook itself. Don't worry about the actual PowerPoints that I will be reviewing. The PowerPoints are going to be shortened quite a bit from the actual content of your textbook. So remember, it is your responsibility to make sure to read the chapters before our lecture. This way you are familiar with our lecture inside and out. But again, you really don't need your textbook until quiz 1, which will be during week 4, because you will be able to use your textbook during this quiz. And remember, your quiz will be open all week, so it will be open on February 6th all the way until February 12th, which is Wednesday night of that week, until 11:55 p.m. So you'll have the entire week 4 to complete your quiz number 1. Keep in mind your first discussion form, which is going to be during week 5 right here. It's going to have to do with some of the content from chapters 1 through 4, which we will discuss today. So let's go ahead and jump into our lecture for today. So you can see week 2 is posted here, and our previous week will be below it, week 1 here. So next week, week 3, will populate right above week 2. As a reminder, please keep in mind each week will start on the Thursday of that week at 2 o'clock p.m. and it will end on Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. If I do ever post the content for a week earlier, such like a day earlier on Wednesday or even 2 days earlier on Tuesday, you will still have the entire week to finish that content. For example, in previous semesters, I might have some plans on Wednesday or Thursday that I need to attend to, such as a conference where I might not have access to post anything right away for that Thursday. So I might just post it before my actual conference on Tuesday or Wednesday. And I will send an announcement, which will also be emailed to you as well, letting you know, hey, let's say for week 3, the week 3 content has now been posted, and it might be posted a day or two early, but for the most part, everything will be posted on Thursday at 2 o'clock p.m. of that week, and you'll have until Wednesday to complete everything. So for your tasks to complete this week, please make sure to read part 1, chapters 1 through 4, before the start of week 3. And in addition, make sure to read the next chapters for part 2, because next week we will be going over part 2. Your week 2 video lecture, you will have a link here. Again, just click on it once it is posted. And then your additional items for the week is we have our COMM 363 Part 1 lecture, which goes over chapters 1 and 4. Now keep in mind, for Part 1, it's going to be a little bit light on the content. This way, you don't have to worry about really having to listen to a lecture for too long, what I'm going to do is go over the main key points. But the following lectures for next week and the week on, they're probably going to be a little bit longer. The reason I do this is because it's the start of the semester. Not everybody might have their books. And in addition, I want to make sure that you read the first 4 chapters of your textbook and you know them inside and out. So if you click on this link here, again, all the additional items for the week will be posted here, whether it's a quiz, PowerPoints, assignments, or discussion forum links, it will all be posted here. So if we click on this, the PowerPoint will download, and then we can go over our first part. All right, so for our part 1 review, again, it's only a total of 9 slides with actual 8 slides of content. So for chapter 1, this talks about the needs for research in advertising and public relations research. So what research does, it really helps uncover advantages for advertising, especially now with so much digital advertising being put out there. It's really important to make sure that we have enough research for our advertising and what we were going to be focusing on, whether you're focusing more on marketing or advertising itself. But when you have enough research, it will help you really determine where the best fit of an advertisement might be. And also, you might receive the maximum return on investment as well when you have research conducted. Now, research is highly important in any kind of traditional marketing, such as newspaper advertisements, magazine advertisements, radio, and so on, and television advertisements. It's really important because with traditional advertising, you can't really modify something once something has occurred. For example, if you're running an ad, or excuse me, a commercial on television for the next month, 1 time a week, well, the television station is going to require you to pay for it up front, and it's running on those 4 days no matter what. It's paid for and it's done. So your research better be top notch, 100% in place, understanding everything. Excuse me. Whereas with your more non-traditional marketing, such as current digital marketing and advertising, this is something that can be altered as you go on. For example, if you have an advertising campaign running on social media, on Facebook, let's say, what you can do is during that campaign, you can actually look at your results and modify them as you go. So here, your research might not be as important per se to traditional advertising because you can actually alter it as you go. If you see an ad is not performing well, you could pause the ad, you can delete it, and maybe allocate the funds to another ad that might be working better, and so on. Oops. So the need for research. So it really doesn't provide answers, but it aids in suggesting the right direction on where to go and what to do. You can't really get a solid answer on, hey, running your TV commercial at this time or your magazine ad in this magazine for this quarter is going to be effective, and you will get the maximum amount return on your money. It doesn't really work like that. It really just aids in suggesting the right direction on where you need to run, whether it's traditional or non-traditional advertising methods. And of course, contact to public is mediated. It's conducted through mass media, internet, etc. And the benefits of research. So you could save money by finding the correct method, rather than trying to figure out where to advertise and kind of doing a trial and error per se. If you have research conducted, you could save money by finding which would be the best route to implement your ad into. You can also get gain on competitors, knowing where to advertise first, and also adapt to any kind of change that might be implemented with whether it's current trends or social change, such as social media, whatever it may be. The benefits of research are there, and it's really important to make sure that you conduct research before you actually advertise. So you have applied research. This is research that utilizes existing knowledge and research approaches for a specific purpose. And this is known as fundamental research or pure research. And this is the most advertising and public relations research being conducted now. So there might already be research that you can um, actually find out about. There might have been studies already done, or there might have been another advertising campaign where their research has been posted, and you can go read to see what worked, what didn't work. And this applied research will help you really figure out which way and where you want to go with your advertising campaign. And predictive research is exactly what it means. It's to establish predictability. Use what we know to predict what will happen tomorrow. Assessing buying patterns to predict likely preferences. This is extremely important. If you think about it, let's say you work for a Canada Goose. Canada Goose is really known for their jackets and understanding that the public will know that their jackets will keep you warm. Well, knowing that you're not going to really advertise Canada Goose jackets, in late spring, early summer, is probably something that you can predict right away. You're not going to spend a lot of money during this time. Rather, you're going to really advertise this into a season where you think would be useful, such as late fall, before the start of winter, understanding that, hey, you know what, it's going to get cold in Chicago, and we need to make sure that we advertise our Canada Goose jackets, our new lines, towards the middle of fall and the fall, so that way people could start getting acclimated to the fact that winter is coming and we might need a new jacket. That's going to be more on the predictive research side. So specific uses of research. So credibility of the source of information. You have study audiences who receive our messages. You could study the messages themselves, study the media channels carrying out the message, or even study outcomes of communications efforts. So you have all these different types of approaches that you can do in order to make sure that you are looking at the different, the specific uses of research. You do have negative rationale for research as well, such as balance the cost of research against the potential gains from the findings. So, research is going to cost you money. And if you're willing to spend this money, is this something that you need to consider? What are the potential gains from the findings of the research? If you feel that, I might not be able to find out too much information from this research, it might not be worth it to conduct this type of research, which going back to this previous slide, of your applied research, whereas you might want to do more of a predictive research because it could cost less and it won't really put you in the hole a lot of money of conducting certain type of research to try to figure out which path you can go. So chapter 2 talks about some research definitions. You have your subject. This is any person, object, practice, or process that is observed for research purposes, such as Canada Goose. Their jackets are going to be the subject in this case. Operational definitions. This is altering questions to fit the study. There's a real estate example in your textbook that talks about this. And it's a really good example which will give you a better idea of operational definitions. Then you have variables, something that varies, such as changes during process. You have independent variables and dependent variables. So independent variables, they change on their own. It's not a result of something changing. This is just something that can change on its own. Then you have dependent variables. This is change as a result of another factor. So since we're not in groups, this is something that I like to keep on my PowerPoints because I think this is something that can help you understand what I would do in a classroom if we were together face to face. I don't want to alter my slides in a way where it's going to just kind of be me talking and you listening. Rather, I want you guys to try this out on your own. So since you're not going to be in a group, you're going to be by yourself, obviously. But I want you to kind of keep this in mind. When you're working in groups, how would you have researched something on your own? So, for example, in groups, discuss the definitions assigned. Be prepared to have some explanation on what it is and give an example for each definition assigned. So maybe one day you might want to do control and hypothesis, another day universe and population, and so on and so on. This way you could kind of study as you go and think about to yourselves, okay, if I were in a group, what would I tell my group members about these two definitions that I found out? Because these are some of the important definitions to understand from chapter 2. So, chapter three, planning and using research. So, what is a research plan? It's really seeking a strategy to best meet your objective. So, whenever you're creating any kind of advertising plan, marketing plan, you're going to have an objective that you're trying to meet. So, when you're looking at a research plan, you are seeking a strategy to best meet your objective. You have research trade-offs, such as time and budget constraints. These influence the research plan you will develop. If you're, again, going back to the Canada Goose example, if you are looking to conduct research on what people might think of this new jacket line, and this research is going to take 3 months to complete, and it's already at the start of September, is that something you're going to want to do? Because if it takes 3 months, September, October, November, you're not going to get your results until November, which means you really won't be able to know where you're going to advertise until mid-December. That might be too late. So understanding the time and budget constraints is really important. The level of ambiguity, what level can you tolerate? If it's a little ambiguous, how much of the ambiguity can you actually um, tolerate for the fact of knowing, hey, you know what? Even though we're going to conduct research, it might not be 100% clear. And this is where you get your 95% level of confidence. If you have a 95% level of confidence, whoops, you will have very little ambiguity. So whenever you're conducting research and you're running regression on any kind of program such as SPSS, you really want to be at a 95% level of confidence and say, you know what, we conducted our research and we're 95% confident that this is the right method to go to. And time and money can become the key ingredients in developing, sorry about that misspelled word, in developing a research plan. So keep that in mind. So when you're looking at your research plan development, this consists of a series of interconnected events. Take a look at Exhibit 3.3 on page 17. So step one, define the problem. What is the problem that you're trying to solve? Step two, determine the methodology of solving the problem. Step three, execute the research. So now where you know where you want to go, you can execute the research. Step four, analyze and then draw conclusions. And finally, step five, determine your action steps. So make sure to properly define the problem. Add in PR, in advertising and PR, this is important because problems involve behavior or attitudes towards a company. So keep that in mind as well too. So for chapter 4, designing research, this is what you are going to be looking at for your first discussion board thread, which is going to be during week 5, your discussion form to complete. It's going to have to do with this information here. So read each of the research concerns below. Understand each one of these inside and out. As your discussion form number 1, which is week 5, will be about discussing these items. Make sure to take notes on each one as you read over them, so when week 5 comes, you are prepared to discuss. All right, guys, so that's it for week 1. Actually, you know what? Let me open up my syllabus, or excuse me, it's week 2, but let me open up my syllabus again. I want to remind you guys, if you have any questions or concerns, you can always contact me. I have my cell phone number here. Don't be shy to text message or even call me. Text is always the best way because I can respond right away or respond when I'm back at my phone. If it's something that's not, time pressing, you can always email me as well too. So I just want you guys to be comfortable in making sure you have an easy way to contact me. So that's it for week 2. If you guys have any questions, again, contact me. Otherwise, I will see you guys all next week for week 3. Good luck to you all this week. Take care.